Warning, this video may contain spoilers for the TV show or movie that we discuss in this video. If you have not yet watched the TV show or movie that this video is about, please come back to the video at a later time after you have watched the content that was discussed. You have been warned. How's it going, everybody? This is Robin Novakast back with another video, and this is more of a review for Tengen, Toppa, Gureen, Lagann. Now, a few things I want to say. This is first off, a 27 episode series by Gainax, who also has two extra movies, which are basically like recaps with additional scenes to the show itself. But all in all, it's actually a really cool experience to go through. First off, I'm going to try to go through step by step my pros and cons of the show, and hopefully I can kind of keep track of, or at least kind of stay on topic when it comes to a lot of this stuff. First off, let's talk about the story. The story in of itself is intriguing, to say the least. It starts off by talking about how humanity is underground, and those who go to the surface are hunted down by these quote-unquote beastmen. And the story follows our two, or at least as we progress, our leads, Simone, Kamina, and the growing team Gureen, as they progress and conquer through the various challenges that they have to face, with the help of their mecha, mainly, Gureen and Lagann, which is basically Lagann being the first mech that they come across. Now, I will say that, again, the story in of itself is an interesting one, to say the least, and it has a really cool theme of, pushing forward and trying to progress further and further on, or at least expanding from our own limitations. As well as the fact that moving forward through trauma and tribulation is the basic reoccurring theme overall. I will say that, not to try to spoil too much, and I'll save this for the Let's Watch videos, there are some character deaths that play a pivotal role into the growth of a lot of our characters. Again, not spoiling too much, because I don't want to go too much into it, but all in all, it's a really interesting way, like the way they go about it too. Speaking of the characters, there is a large majority of characters that I will say at first don't get a lot of screen time. In fact, we don't get a lot of names for a lot of them, but as the story progresses, we get to see their motivations, their just their little quirks, and I find it to be really funny. I found there was this, out of like the main cast, there was this one guy that I thought was really funny. They constantly like to be, I don't know, like you could call him a nuisance, but there was one job that I guess he proclaimed for himself, and it was just really fucking hilarious to see him on screen every freaking time. I will say, the characters that really help push the narrative, which was really great. One charismatic character who I'm not going to mention, again, it plays a pivotal role on the motivations of a lot of the characters that we see in this show. Plays a huge role on their growth. Music, oh my gosh, some of the music is really interesting. Sometimes slow and kind of calming, and in the moments of combat is really fast paced and just kind of, I would say, like techno beat. It's so really cool. It explains, it kind of works, especially with a lot of the whole giant robot theme. And speaking of the robots, we get crazy with the freaking, the guy next gets freaking insane with the the sizes of these robots. For those who've watched the show, you know what I'm talking about. The villains in of themselves are really interesting, to say the least, though really preachy. I will say that to some extent it gets kind of ridiculous on some of their logic, but I will say it makes sense. They're the villains that are trying to keep, you know, our characters down, and to some extent they have a really interesting, again, it's really preachy and it makes no sense to some extent, but I will say, even though for some parts it doesn't make sense, you get the main gist of why they're doing it. And I don't know if I could say that they are motivating, or at least they are strong villains, but you understand to some extent why they're doing some of the stuff they're doing, especially with the final act. And speaking of the final act, holy crap, it is probably one of the greatest moments. I should reword greatest, but also one of the most bittersweet moments of the series, just in general. It is, you're gonna feel happy, you're gonna feel sad, depressed, emotionally distraught of what our characters end up having to go through, what they lose, what they gain, what they do to push forward. It is such an overwhelming just volume of emotions that you deal with in the very end of the show. So, alright, final thoughts. I have to give my final thoughts because when it comes to these reviews, I try to make it as short as possible, especially since, you know, when it comes to like the Let's Watch videos, that's usually where my spoiler section is at, because I do those by episode, as well as since I'm gonna also talk about the 2 other movies, which is really cool. So final thoughts on this show. This is probably one of my favorite anime, above all. And one thing I didn't touch on is the animation, which the animation, besides one episode, and we will get to that in one of the later episodes, or at least the Let's Watch videos, the animation is phenomenal. And I love that. And I'm just to briefly talk about the movies add on to that just extraordinary value of the animation. It's good. It is damn good to watch. It is so appealing. Again, besides one episode, but we'll get to that. So I love the animation. I love the characters, because every single one of them is unique in their own way. I love the music, the story. It's an interesting show, and I love the theme of moving forward and learning from the people who were before you, which is the basic theme of this I was gonna say movie, but this TV show. Moving forward, learning from the people who came before, and adding experiences and passing knowledge to the people that are after you. I love this show. It is a phenomenal show. So, final thoughts, or at least final rating. I'm gonna have to give it a buy it or watch it on Netflix. And surprisingly, it just goes to show how good the show is, because Netflix is still showing it on their website, on their streaming service. And I have to point out that this show was released around April 1st, 2007. So it's been around for 13 years. And all in all, it still has a popularity. It still is being watched by people. In fact, there was a couple people that recently was asking me about anime, and I, recommended this particular one. Mostly because a lot of people watched one of the animes that came after, which was Kill la Kill, which we will talk about, because that is a enigma in of itself. So, all in all, buy it or watch it on Netflix. Hello everyone, thank you for stopping by to check out this video. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, as well as follow us on social media. Links are in the description. Check out gaming content from MJ, Aden, and Magi, as well as our daily content on the YouTube channel. Follow us on our podcast, which is 6 p.m. Pacific time on Sundays. From everybody of Novakast, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next video.